It's out there. I mean, it's real. It makes it really real for me.
3 members of one Utah family, all diagnosed with lung cancer. And the strange thing, none of them ever smoked. Doctors have never found the cause either, but the answer could be right under our feet. New specialist Mike Hedrick explains.
He was 44 when he was diagnosed, and he died on his 45th birthday. My mother was diagnosed 6 days after I buried my husband. And then my daughter's mother-in-law, she passed away a year after my husband.
Same thing.
From lung cancer, yes.
That was 6 years ago. Today, Marianne Williams wonders how it happened. Her husband, Stephen, was an avid biker, a hiker, and a runner.
Very healthy. We had run St. George Marathon together in '04.
Probably never even think something like this would happen.
Ever.
It started with a cough that got progressively worse. Stephen went to the hospital where doctors discovered he had lung cancer and it had already spread.
They kind of guessed that he had probably had it for a couple of years.
That long?
Yep. That's why it's a silent killer. You just don't realize you have it, and you become symptomatic, and then it's too late.
Stephen spent his last 7 months fishing with the kids and loving his wife.
When cancer melts everything else away, even my life, I will still have my family, and nothing can take them away from me, not even physical death.
That's from his journal.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen left behind a journal full of passages like those. His daughter turned them into a book and a website.
This helped a lot of people, too. This site, his entries.
Today, Marianne still does not know how her husband and family members got lung cancer, but she suspects it may have been radon gas.
Because they were non-smokers, I'm going to have to say, you know, radon has a big part of it.
Mike joins me now. And Mike, this is an emotional story, but it ought to inspire some action here. So explain exactly what is radon.
Yeah, you hear the word radon. A lot of people aren't quite sure what it is. It's basically a gas that it's decaying uranium, and it comes from the soil and from water as well. So it seeps up from the ground. It collects in buildings. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You cannot taste it. So you really don't know it's there until you test for it.
And as you and I have talked about it, there are some areas that have more of it, some of them that have less.
Right. Well, according to the EPA, I mean, it's pretty much everywhere. There's some parts of the country where you're going to see it more than others. Mm-hmm. And it is very prevalent here in Utah, though. At least 17 counties record high levels of radon. And not to mention, it's in about 1/3 of all Utah homes, according to estimates by the Department of Environmental Quality. Now, Marianne there, for example, lives in Draper. She tested her current house, and levels were very high there. Well, right behind her home is another neighborhood. We found nearly 24 houses with elevated levels of radon gas. These are new homes. Some are still being built, and now some homeowners have to tear into them actually to install mitigation systems. So that's one of the things. They gave us a call. We checked into it, did our own testing, our own investigation. The key here is the state, really there are no laws out there to protect people from radon within their homes. So that's what we're going to get to tonight.
All right, we'll look forward to your report then. Thanks,
okay.
Mike.
Dangerous, and I worry about my children.
Are we at risk for lung cancer? That's my concern now.
Unhealthy levels of radon gas detected in a Draper development. Homeowners moved in without testing first, and they did it because
no one told me about radon here.
No one had to. Not the builder, the realtor, the city, or the state.
The reason? Well, Utah has no laws concerning radon gas. A KSL investigation discovered it's an issue that seeped through the cracks for nearly 25 years. Mike?
Yeah, Dave and Deanie, health experts call radon gas a serious health threat, a naturally caused silent killer responsible for the most lung cancer cases after cigarettes. Now, major health groups have warned about it since the late 1980s, urging states to take action. But here in Utah, well, nothing had been done until we called. And here's tonight's IN report.
The levels came back at 8.
Ours was at 6.7.
The numbers may not sound high.
Our levels were 6.4.
But when it comes to radon,
it was 16.9.
They are off the chart.
Your levels were 12.1? Yep. Holy cow.
Unbelievable. Any reading above 4, and the Environmental Protection Agency says you should mitigate. Simply put, get the gas out of the house.
If I were to keep these windows closed for any amount of time, the gas would build up again.
Bridget Metcalf moved to Draper's Bellevue neighborhood more than a year ago.
This is how the gas comes in.
Metcalf says she was never told about radon and only tested for it after her neighbors found high levels in their homes.
I'm really upset. I mean, to say the least, that I've allowed my family to be in the home for, a year and a half and not knowing that this gas was present in my home.
I would certainly intervene if I saw a 5-year-old smoking a cigarette, and it's just as damaging to their little lungs for radon in their house.
Just down the street,
I think they would have to tear out this whole wall.
Joe Schuyler is about to rip into his new drywall to install a mitigation system for his family.
I wouldn't expose them to asbestos or natural gas or anything that's dangerous, and I want it taken care of.
Schuyler and other neighbors believe the developer, Ivory Homes, should bear more responsibility. Schuyler says they've asked for 3 things: help in paying for mitigation systems, a neighborhood notice about radon, and for Ivory to educate new homeowners about radon and mitigation options.
They said they had no responsibility legally to do any of that. They weren't sure that radon even existed. Told me also that he thought that radon was no more dangerous than drinking from a garden hose. They said specifically to me that they don't want to do anything because it puts them in a place where they can't compete in the marketplace from a profitability standpoint. But from an ethical standpoint, I think it's irresponsible.
So we called Ivory Homes and asked them repeatedly for an on-camera interview. Each time they denied our request. But in a phone call with an Ivory spokesman, we asked about those specific points. He said he could not comment on any of them. He gave us this piece of paper. It is Ivory's official position on radon, the same statement that they give to other homeowners in the area. It says, in part, Ivory cannot, quote, be held accountable for radon levels arising in any specific home, end quote.
Ivory cites several reasons in a contract signed by homeowners. According to the EPA, soil tests cannot show how much radon a home will have once it's built, and radon levels can vary from house to house. So to see if that was the case in Bellevue, we went door to door.
My name's Mike Hedrick. I'm with KSL.
Gave radon tests to a dozen homes and sent them in for analysis. Of the 12 homes tested by KSL, 11 had high levels of radon, the highest, a 21.1. Combine our results with those from other homeowners, and you get an average reading of 8.8 per home. That's more than twice the amount considered unsafe by the EPA.
We have it, they have it next door. Everybody, it's just right down the row, and everybody else in the areas, they all have it. It's here.
7.3 is the average.
So we took our findings to Senator John Valentine.
And it gradually goes up, a 17.
Chairman of the Senate Business and Labor Committee.
So this one is 21.6.
The committee that would tackle radon first.
Would that be a concern to you in that neighborhood when you see levels like that?
Yeah, yes, it would. Yes. When you see something that's 5 times the EPA recommended average, that then becomes to the level of saying, this is the problem.
But Utah has no laws to deal with that problem. No building codes, no home inspection rules, no testing requirements for schools, no database for test results. The closest thing is a code that requires mitigation installers and repairmen to be licensed contractors. And that means the developer, Ivory Homes, is by all accounts following Utah code.
Kind of a big issue, especially in some states, and it doesn't seem like it's risen to the top here in Utah.
Valentine says the committee often relies on industry experts like home builders to bring issues such as radon to its attention. But in 8 years, no bill has ever come up.
Do you believe that Utah has a responsibility to do something about this?
Utah has a responsibility to build safe homes. We build them in...
All right, and after we called Senator Valentine, he began looking into radon. He says that his staff is now reviewing laws, and he's doing it in other states as well. And 4 days after our interview, the Radon Gas Provisions Bill request appeared on the legislative website. It is the first step to writing a law, and we will follow it to see if it actually progresses. Now, as for Ivory Homes, it sent us a follow-up email stating that the radon issue in Bellevue has only recently come to its attention. It said it was in the process of formally telling new home buyers about radon mitigation systems and offered to introduce existing homeowners to reputable contractors. Now, stay tuned, because this is just the first piece of this story. Tomorrow night, meet a woman on a cross-country mission to prove that radon gave her lung cancer.
I was like everyone else, thought I was immune to it because I don't smoke.
How Valerie Scott hopes to find a cause and a cure, and the expert using Utah to find the final link between lung cancer and radon gas. Again, that is tomorrow night right here on KSL at 10 o'clock.
Boy, if anything, it makes you want to go get a test so you can at least know for yourself what's going on in your home. Thanks, Mike.
I'm going to beat the odds. I'm not going to die. I refuse to go.
A spirit full of fire and a will to survive. She is Valerie Scott of Cedar Hills, and she was just diagnosed with lung cancer. Doctors cannot say for sure what caused it, but one Utah expert believes that he may have the answer. Radon gas. Now, we told you about it last night during a KSL investigation. Tonight, though, in this ION report, we take you more in depth to reveal how Utah could help link radon to lung cancer.
I'm 53, and I used to think that that was old. Now I'm thinking that's really young, you know.
From the moment you meet Valerie Scott,
This is your grandson, right?
That's my grandson.
it's simply hard not to smile. A mother to 4, a grandma to 1.
I think I just barely got here. I want to get to know him. I adore him. He loves me.
But she is now fighting for every single moment.
The older he gets, the more he's going to miss me if I go. And I hate thinking about that.
Back in June, doctors told Valerie she had lung cancer. In fact, stage 4.
It appears to be blurry because there's so many spots. I was like everyone else. Thought I was immune to it because I don't smoke.
Never smoked, never had a symptom. It was actually something else that made Valerie go in. But by the time doctors caught it, the cancer had moved to her brain.
And from that moment, I knew I was going to fight it.
She asked to start treatment right away, but doctors told her to wait. They first needed to see if she had a genetic mutation found only in non-smokers with lung cancer.
It's that funny how your prayers change. You know, don't let it be cancer. Don't let it be cancer. Please let me be a mutant. Please let me be a mutant.
And she was. And now Valerie is on a mission to answer one question. How?
But once I found out that it was cancer and I was waiting for the test to come back, then I started thinking, I haven't smoked. And radon gas was the only other thing that I'd heard of.
Radon, a naturally occurring gas you cannot see or smell. It seeps through the soil and collects in buildings. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates it kills at least 20,000 people each and every year.
20,000 deaths. I mean, that's just huge. That's probably the 8th or 10th most important cause of cancer death in the U.S. at this time.
Dr. Wallace Akerley is the Director of Thoracic Oncology at Huntsman Cancer Institute.
We know radiation causes cancer. Well, radon is radiation, and it causes cancer.
He's also a leading expert on non-smoking lung cancer.
Is there a way to tell if it's from radon?
Well, not yet. That's where we're hoping to go.
Until now, researchers like Dr. Akerley have relied on case studies to link radon to lung cancer. The evidence is strong, but Akerley wants the smoking gun.
The piece that we're looking for and would like to be able to understand is, can we relate radon exposure directly to these mutations that we're seeing? It seems obvious that there is a relationship, but we're just starting to do that.
And Utah will be the testing ground. First, Akerley says he will use a vast genealogical database to find genes passed through families, and then genetic mutations caused by things like radon. Second, the Department of Environmental Quality lists 17 counties, including the state's most populous areas, in the red zone, or zone 1. The EPA says those areas are most likely to see high levels of radon gas. And third, Utah has the fewest smokers of any state in the nation, according to the Centers for Disease Control. Akerley says that translates into lower lung cancer rates and higher odds it could be caused by something else. Akerley says about half of all Utah lung cancer patients never smoked. Compare that to 15% in other states.
And it's just kind of a shame. These people come in, they know they've done everything right in their lives, and lung cancer still shows up.
I never wake up and think, I've got lung cancer, and panic over that.
Instead, Valerie is getting to work. She wants to conduct radon tests on every home she's ever lived in, from California to Georgia.
Everyone says, what's your bucket list? I'm living my bucket list. You know, my family, my kids, every day. I don't want that to go to waste. And I just want to know that if, you know, it takes me tomorrow, that Everyone knows I love them, and I've enjoyed them. And, but I'm fighting. I mean, if I go, it'll be dragging and screaming. I don't want to go.
What a woman, huh? If you'd like to test your own home for radon, you can purchase a test through the state's indoor radon program. It costs just about $7. That's it. Now, we posted that link on KSL.com along with all the information you could ever want to know about radon. Now, remember, the #1 thing that you can do to help yourself is to get educated. Hopefully, we were able to do a little bit of that throughout the last couple of nights.
Yeah, glad you're raising awareness for that problem. It's tragic to see what happens.
It is. You hate to see stories like that, but, you know, what a will she has not only to live, but to get that word out as well and let people know about this.
Yeah.
So,
Thank heavens. Thanks.